Patch 10.1 is just around the corner, and so today let's talk about the top 5 things I am looking forward to once it drops on May 2nd. Starting out with number 5 is the new zone, Zaralek Cavern. I'm excited about this for a number of reasons. First of all, this zone feels very unique. It is a massive underground cavern below the Dragon Isles that you enter through a tunnel between the Olhanara Plains and Thildrazis, and best of all, there's no loading screen to get to it. I think this is the first time that the world has felt disconnected since all the way back in Legion. Being in an underground cavern like this is also just something we haven't seen much in WoW before. Deepholm is the closest thing to this that we have seen, and yet being able to fly freely in and out of the cavern is a uniquely awesome experience. Blizzard's art team has also done a fantastic job designing the cavern and its varying aesthetics, ranging from large crystal formations to waterfalls of lava, and there's plenty to explore while dragon riding throughout the zone. Inside the caverns, we'll also gain a new renown track with a new race known as the Nifin, as well as see the return of the Drogbar, and we will be getting new events, quests, dragon riding races, and new cave diving and snail racing activities. At number 4 is cross-faction guilds. Now, okay, this might seem minor compared to some of the other things this patch, but this is such a great change for the overall game to remove one of the final barriers between the factions. And although Blizzard announced that this would happen at some point in Dragonflight, they definitely made it seem like something that wasn't going to happen until later in the expansion due to technical challenges. So I was really excited to see how quickly we were actually able to get this. Why is this such a great change though? I mean, we could already group cross-faction. Do cross-faction guilds really make a big difference? And I think so. Whether you're a more casual player or a more hardcore player, guilds are a huge part of the game for many of us. And while it's been nice to be able to group cross-faction, many people have still kept to the same faction as their guild in order to not lose access to guild chat or guild perks. With that limitation now removed, I know several people that are going to be race changing their mains, and I'm excited to see what effect this has on the faction balance as a whole. I'm also excited to see if this has any effect on the world first race, to see if there's any more variety in the racial abilities used, because I believe even though cross-faction was available in 10.0, the World First guilds only used a maximum of 4 cross-faction characters due to needing at least 16 players from their guild to be in the raid to count for Hall of Fame. Overall, I am personally just excited to be able to choose whatever race I want my character to be based on what I like the looks of or what race I think fits my class fantasy best without needing to worry about not being able to play with my guild. And I think this is also going to motivate me to finally go out there and finish unlocking all of the allied races. Coming in at number 3 is the new raid Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. Located within Zaralek Cavern, Aberrus is one of Neltharion's research facilities and should make for a great raid, especially from a lore perspective. The raid consists of 9 bosses, many of which are Neltharion's failed experiments, including a boss fight against an experimental version of the Drakthir. There's also an invasion style boss fight against invading Jaradan forces, and of course there's a fight against the Echo of Neltharion himself. The raid ends with a fight against Scale Commander Sarkareth, continuing his story from the Forbidden Reach, and naturally with the raid being centered around Neltharion and his legacy, we can expect to see several Void related abilities and details throughout our time in Aberrus. The new raid is of course bringing us new tier sets for each class. As always, there has been some mixed reactions to these, but I think most classes and specializations are relatively happy with their sets at this point. From an art direction, kudos to Blizzard's art team once again. I think the sets look really great. Priest is probably my favorite out of all of these, and looking at the aesthetics of Aberrus overall, I think it looks like a really cool raid. The last thing I should mention when it comes to the raid is we are getting 2 new weapons with special effects. The first is a 2-handed sword, Ashkender, Fall of the Brotherhood, that gives your auto attacks a chance to deal extra Shadow Flame damage, which is doubled against humanoids. The other weapon is an agility polearm named Jarun, Pillar of the Elder Flame. This one is actually an on-use effect that does initial damage to enemies around you and then causes your melee abilities to do additional fire damage split amongst the enemies in front of you. Overall, I'm pretty excited about Aberrus and just really excited to jump back into another raid tier and hopefully push for cutting edge again. Number 2 on the list is the new gear upgrading system that will allow us to upgrade items from various sources such as World Quests, Rare Spawns, Mythic Plus, and the Raid. This system will be replacing the existing Valor system, and do note it does not affect crafted or PvP gear. The new system is built around 2 new currencies, the first being Flight Stones, which can be earned from basically any max level content. The second is Shadowflame Crests, which come in 4 different ranks: Whelpling, Drake, Worm, and Aspects. These can also be earned by a variety of max level content, though the difficulty of the content will determine the rank of the crest that you receive. Once you have both currencies, you can use them to upgrade gear, but keep in mind you can only upgrade gear so far, and higher item level gear will require higher ranked Shadowflame crests to upgrade. Blizzard provided this table to illustrate the Shadowflame crest upgrade requirement across various eye levels. The system also has a discount mechanic for when you want to upgrade an item in a slot that you already have a higher item level in. For example, if you have a 421 helmet, but you get a new 415 helmet that you want to use instead, you will be able to upgrade it at a 50% discount on flight stones and without spending any Shadowflame crests. The Flightstone discount is also account wide, meaning that if your main has a 421 helmet and your alt has a 415 helmet, you'll be able to upgrade your alt's helmet at a 50% discount on Flightstones. However, you will still need to spend a Shadowflame crest. On paper, although this system might sound a bit confusing at first, I think this should be a really great change for the game by allowing players to upgrade their gear by doing the content they prefer. It should also add a bit of bad luck protection for cases where you maybe can't get your best trinket in Mythic or Heroic, but you have the normal version. At least now you'll be able to upgrade that to Heroic or near Mythic item level. And finally, to top off the list, we have the new Mythic Plus season. We are getting a brand new 8 dungeon rotation, 4 of which are the new Dragonflight dungeons not included in Season 1, Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Notharis, and the revamped Uldaman. It's been a while since I've gone through these dungeons, but I think I am most personally excited to do Notharis. The other half of the rotation is made up of 4 older dungeons, 2 from Battle for Azeroth in Freehold and the Underrot, as well as Notharian's Lair from Legion, which is of course very fitting for this patch, and lastly, Vortex Pinnacle from Cataclysm. Most people seem to be excited to get back into Freehold, and I am probably one of the few people excited to do the Underrot again, but Vortex Pinnacle is the most interesting dungeon here for me because I did not expect Blizzard to go all the way back to Cataclysm for these Mythic Plus dungeons. So now I'm more excited than ever that we could actually get a dungeon from all the way back in Classic or Burning Crusade or Wrath in one of the future Mythic Plus rotations. Outside of dungeons, we are seeing big changes to affixes this season as well, with the biggest change being that there's no longer going to be a seasonal affix. Instead, we are now only going to worry about up to 3 affixes at a time, and the affix pools themselves have been revamped. The first affix pool comes online at key level 2 and is still tyrannical and fortified. The second affix pool has now been moved up to key level 7 and above, and it includes volcanic, storming, as well as 3 brand new affixes which are afflicted, incorporeal, and entangling. There have been some mixed reactions to the new affixes so far, so I think it's going to be interesting how the community as a whole deals with these upon release. The afflicted affix causes friendly afflicted souls to spawn with low health and poison, curse, and disease afflictions on them. Players will need to either heal the afflicted souls to full health or remove one of their afflictions. However, if players do not manage to meet one of these conditions in time, the afflicted soul will despawn and players will get a haste debuff for 10 seconds. The incorporeal affix causes incorporeal beings to spawn and begin an 8-second cast on players that will cause a debuff that reduces damage and healing by 50%. Players will need to stop these casts using interrupts or CC, and currently each of these mobs cast multiple times, so you'll need to be careful to not overlap on your interrupts. And finally, entangling is probably the simplest of the new affixes. Every so often, entangling roots will spawn on the ground and snare players. You'll have 8 seconds to snap your vine, otherwise you'll get stunned for 3 seconds. Lastly, the third affix pool comes online at key level 14 and above and consists of Spiteful, Raging, Bursting, Bolstering, and Sanguine. If you've been keeping track, there's a few of the current affixes that I left out. Explosive, Quaking, and Grievous have all been removed, much to the rejoice of the player base. Many of the other existing affixes have also received some tweaks as well, so overall I think Mythic Plus is looking like it's going to be a pretty fun season. And that's going to do it for this video today. These are the top 5 things I'm personally looking forward to in 10.1. Let me know in the comments below what you are looking forward to most, and have a nice day.